I remember when Sciencewise was being set up 6, 7 years ago, with Kathy driving it, with Tony Whitehead, who's here today, and also with Gary Cass. And at the time, they spoke about wanting to create this meadow full of these different flowers. That was the analogy that was used. They're trying to stimulate innovation. And I don't know how many people are familiar with how science engagement happens in other countries. I mean, it doesn't really happen like it does in Britain, or it doesn't seem to me anyway. In Britain, it is now this meadow, and we have today loads of examples of all kinds of different, really interesting and diverse activities happening in the science sector. And thanks to Lindsay, I have to say that and Lindsay sits on the board of Involve, and I don't get the chance to have to talk to these people anymore because I have learned so much in the last 10, 15 minutes. It's so true, and it makes me realise that I'm just not reflecting enough on the stuff as much as perhaps I ought to be doing. So, what I was thinking about before this meeting was, so that's where Sciencewise has come from, but there were three things I thought that might be sort of relevant. One is sort of, okay, how do we get really practical right here, right now? There's a few strategic points that Lindsay's spoken about. And then, okay, where might we want to move from here? And I think one of the really big themes around dialogue right here, right now, which is clearly coming from the work that Lindsay was talking about, is the reality of where we're sitting sort of in society. I was reading the RC UK's Public Attitude Survey last week from last year, and in that survey there's all kinds of stuff which basically says government should do more communication better with the public, should have offer more opportunities for involvement, etc., etc. But I don't know if anyone here has seen the stats that exist in the local government sector. We've got all these stats that basically say we want more involvement. And then if you look at who actually turns up and whether they would turn up, they tend not to. And I think we've got to sort of get realistic and get practical about actually what is achievable in terms of people's time poverty. I mean, a report was produced last year by the Henley Centre. I don't think there's anyone here from BRMB at the moment. And they did this fantastic work showing how busy everyone is right now. And I think this drive, what's happened in quite a critical sense this year has been this tipping point towards the online element, whereby we have got a realisation that we're needing to engage people in ways that are compatible with their lives. And I know that in the awards that we're going to see later on, it's very much a reflection of some of those challenges that are going on. Now, we also spoke about in Lindsay's report, we spoke about the needing to engage a critical mass, and we did a piece of work last year on how can you engage a critical mass of people in projects on science or anything else. And what it found in that was that you need to engage 1 to 2% of your population to create that tipping point to be able to make these things happen. And what's kind of quite useful about that according to the RC UK Public Attitudes to Science survey, that 1% of people, I don't know if this is true, but 1% of people in 2007 were touched or engaged directly in Sciencewise funded processes. Now, I don't know if that's true. That would be 500,000 people. That's what it said in the report that I verified and checked this morning. So if that's true, then maybe we are in a way beginning to build the foundations to get the critical mass that Lindsay's talking about, which is necessary to build the foundations that Kathy's talking about to help politicians make those tough decisions, or what John Denham speaks about, which is building this mature relationship between science and society, because the only way we can actually have that mature conversation is if a critical mass of people are involved. And apparently 1% of the UK population are already involved in this meadow of different activities. So my feeling therefore is if there is this meadow of activities engaging 1% of the population, why doesn't it really feel like that? It doesn't feel like that, does it? I don't know if it does to anyone in the room. It doesn't to me. But when you look at the money getting spent, when you look at the figures, that's what it's saying. So it seems to me like perhaps the next thing that we can do with Sciencewise is look at how we build the infrastructure, how we build the glue to actually make sure that our meadow of different plants, you can stand back from it and see it as this genuine field of activity that is a field upon which you can build those foundations necessary to make the big changes we want to see happening. And so this is sort of my sense of what we might be able to do next in terms of the calls, in terms of what we're looking to fund, is what are the kinds of infrastructure projects we want to do to support that kind of change.